Well, hello there. It is Tuesday afternoon, early in the afternoon, October the 8th, journal number 189, T plus 189. Um, I kind of like to talk to you about something that came up the other day while I was having hot chocolate with a friend. It's really odd. I still am a coffee drinker. I really enjoy a good cup of coffee, but um, I used to be a serious consumer. I mean, I would have um, many cups of coffee in the course of a morning. And I can't do that anymore, or I choose not to do that anymore. I don't enjoy doing it anymore. So now it's like one or two cups of coffee, and that's it for the whole day. So I was having a cup of hot chocolate with a friend who was having a cup of coffee, and we were talking about business. Specifically, we were talking about the automotive repair industry and independent automotive repair shops in particular. Uh, and the conversation was really interesting. It was far reaching and far ranging. But ultimately, those conversations about business always wind up uh, revolving around the concept of success, whatever that means. And it means something different for everybody that uses that term. I mean, you have to really, if you want to be successful, the first thing that you have to do is actually define what you mean by that, what you mean by success, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it's going to do, and how it's going to change your life. When you're talking about success and you're talking about any environment, not just a small business environment, um, you have to wind up ultimately talking about smart goals and objectives and how important it is to achieve and attain those goals and objectives and how really impossible it is unless you define those as well. So that's where our discussion was going as we were sitting in front of a coffee bean on Moore Park Road in Thousand Oaks yesterday, probably just around this time. If you've never really dealt with this idea of smart goals and objectives, let me define it for you because it really makes a lot of sense when you understand it, and it makes little or no sense if you're not using tools like these, if not these tools, to move your life in the direction you want to take it. Smart goals are specific. They're very tightly defined. Um, they're measurable. You can sit down and you can actually analyze where you are in relation to achieving that goal or objective. They're achievable. You know, I used to kid around when I was doing seminars all the time that my son really, really wanted to be able to dunk a basketball like Michael Jordan. The problem was that he was just not suited to do that by virtue of his stature, his physical size. Um, so wanting to go ahead and be an NBA basketball star, while not impossible, uh, certainly wasn't easily achievable. So he instead became a 13-time Ironman, so, which was a lot more difficult and a lot more challenging and probably a lot more satisfying. So they should be achievable. It doesn't make any sense to go ahead and create a goal or an objective that you're not going to be able to attain or achieve. It's just frustrating. Um, they have to be realistic. And I know that achievable and realistic sound the same, but they're not really. They have to be realistic and they have to be time sensitive. You have to go ahead and have a deadline associated with that goal or objective. And the best way to understand that is that even if you're not successful, as far as the timeline is concerned, let's say for argument's sake, you're late by a day, a week, a month, maybe even a year, but you still get the goal done. You still achieve that success. Um, it isn't such a bad thing, is it? I mean, it really isn't. And the best way to understand that, I think, is if you start thinking about cross country flights or transatlantic flights. There are course corrections 1,000 times on a flight between New York and California or California and New York. And, there are plenty of times when that plane's going to come in just a little bit late. But does it really matter as long as it gets where it's going? And those are the things that you have to look for in your life. And when you're charting this idea of success, because it's a rocky road. It's a road filled with all kinds of obstacles and challenges and things that you're going to have to confront on a regular basis if you're going to ever get to where you're going. But the most important part of all of that is knowing where you're going. And knowing where you're going isn't as complicated as you would think it is, but it's not as easy either. You really have to start with a realistic assessment of where you've been, what got you to this point, what brought you here, what skills and abilities have you managed to acquire. Are you using all of the talents and abilities that you have, all the tools that are available to you? So knowing where you've been is important. It's not as important as knowing where you are. You know, and taking a snapshot of your current reality and everything that current reality brings with it. So realistically looking at where you are at this moment, and then looking into the future and being able to envision where you'd like to be and what that looks like, what it feels like, what sights and sounds and scents are associated with that reality. And then doing whatever you need to do, whatever you have to do to both prepare and to attack the goals and objectives that you need in order to go ahead and achieve that reality, that vision of the future. I say it's not easy. I say it's not difficult. If you understand the technology, and that's all it is technology, no different than the technology that makes your car go down the road or makes the lights go on in your house, or has the stove work. Once you understand the technology and you can use it as a tool, then you're well on your way to the success you want, need, expect, and deserve out of life. And there's no better example of how all of this works than in recovery from, significant medical challenges. All I had to do was focus on a series of very short-term goals, which was getting through the day, each day, and getting a little bit better each day, eating a little bit more, drinking a little bit more, walking a little bit further, exercising a little bit more, all of those things that it takes to get you where you need to be. It doesn't hurt to have a coach. Even coaches have coaches. It doesn't have to have somebody, it doesn't hurt to have somebody that's cheering you on, having a rooting section. But in essence, the road to success is generally pretty lonely in the respect that it's never going to happen unless you make it happen, unless you make it happen. So try to remember those things. Where were you? Where are you? Where are you going? Those are important and smart. Smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time sensitive goals and objectives. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about health or we're talking about business or we're talking about life. Only when we're talking about life and you have a significant other, you have a partner, it's always a good idea to make sure that both of you are headed in the same direction and that you touch base often and early in order to ensure that. So in the meantime, stay well, take care. Um, for our Jewish friends out there, this is the evening before Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish New Year. I wish all of you a sweet, happy, healthy New Year and an easy fast. Stay well, take care. Gratefully signing off. Bye-bye.